I wanted him to notice me, and when he didn't, I decided to make him sorry. My name is Liza. I'm a 28-year-old Filipina-American working in accounts receivable at a mid-sized logistics company where the carpet is gray, the coffee is always burnt, and nothing dramatic is supposed to happen. Tom sits 2 rows over on the sales side. Tall, annoyingly patient, the guy who remembers everyone's birthday because he actually reads the HR digest. We did happy hours as a group, laughed in the kitchen, swapped Spotify links. Somewhere between a late reconciliation and a broken printer, I convinced myself the warmth was more than friendly. I flirted harder. He pulled back. He started replying in complete, tidy sentences and adding periods where he used to add emojis. When I asked if he wanted to do something just us, he said, "I'm seeing someone." I thought that was clear. It wasn't clear to me because I didn't want it to be. I said it was fine. It wasn't. I told myself he'd been leading me on. That's the story you write when your pride needs a villain to stay upright. The following week, my manager moved Tom to a new prospect, which meant he'd need invoice history from my team. He slacked. "Hey Liza, could you pull the aging for Midco? Not urgent." Yodi okay. I stared at the message and felt heat rise like the elevator after lunch. I should have typed, "Sure, sending shortly." Instead, I took a screenshot and sent it to my friend, Marina, writing, "Tell me this isn't him baiting me." She replied, "Girl, that's work." I needed someone to say I was right. Nobody would. I spent a night drafting a complaint to HR. I didn't write, "He rejected me and I'm humiliated." I wrote, "He keeps contacting me directly despite my request to use group channels, even though I had never asked that." I attached 2 Slack screenshots. One genuine, one I edited on my phone. Cropping out the "thanks so much" smiley face, I'd sent back to make it look like he'd continued messaging after I went quiet. I said he made me uncomfortable in the kitchen last month. Vague, unprovable, and I knew it. I typed fast enough to outrun the feeling that my stomach was dropping through the floor. The complaint portal auto-replied within minutes, "Received. An investigator will reach out. Please do not discuss this with coworkers." The next morning, a woman from People Ops, Janelle, emailed me to schedule an intake. She was gentle, practiced, exactly the kind of professional I should never have wasted. In the meeting, she asked open questions and took careful notes. I told my version with details that made me look smaller, him larger. When I walked out, I felt both hollow and powerful. The worst combination. HR moved quickly, because that's what a good HR team does. They put Tom on paid administrative leave pending investigation, and issued a temporary no-contact directive to both of us. I heard about the leave from the gossip drip. "Tom's out?" Whoa. It made my shame spike and my vindication curl its toes. 2 days later, Janelle called me back in. This time, another person was there. A compliance manager named Rob who had the vibe of a quiet auditor and a second notebook. He thanked me for coming, summarized my claims, and said, "I want to walk through the timeline. We've pulled badge swipes, camera footage for the dates you mentioned, and Slack export for your channel and DMs. We'll also cover your statement that you asked Tom to funnel all requests through your manager." My throat went dry. "Okay," I said, pretending this was fine. He started with the kitchen incident. "You said March 9th, around 12:15 p.m. He slid a printed still from the hallway camera across the table. Me pouring coffee alone at 12:16, then Tom entering at 12:21, then leaving with 2 paper cups while I remained filling the ice bin. I remembered, suddenly, that the incident was actually me complimenting his shoes and him juggling hot lids. Rob didn't accuse. He let the timestamps do the talking. Then Slack. He projected a read-only export with a system watermark. The messages were boring in a way that hurts. Tom asking for an aging, me replying cheerfully, Tom thanking me with a thumbs up. A week later, him pinging a group channel with my manager copied, exactly like I'd claimed to want. Except I had never asked for that change. Rob compared the metadata from my screenshot to the export. Fonts didn't match, the spacing was different, my screenshot's timestamp was a minute off from server time in a way that suggested local editing. He didn't say Photoshop. He said, "This appears modified." Janelle's face wasn't angry, it was disappointed. That's worse. Liza, she said softly. Do you want to clarify anything about your submission? I wanted to panic, to reverse time, to make the room's air thicker so words would be too heavy to lift. I might have misunderstood his tone. I said because I lied is a hard phrase to push through your teeth. Rob nodded as if misunderstood was a category he had a box for. He continued calmly, we also reviewed Teams call logs. There are no one-on-one calls initiated by Tom in the period you referenced. You initiated too. He turned the paper. We're obligated to protect employees who report in good faith. We're also obligated to act when there are indications of dishonesty or false reporting. The next day, Tom's leave ended. He came back to work, quieter, but not smaller. People who knew kept their mouths shut, because HR had held the line on confidentiality. People who didn't know said, "Hey man, how was the time off?" And he said, "We all good," which made me hate and respect him at the same time. He never spoke to me again, which was correct and unbearable. A week later, HR called me into a room I'd only ever entered for open enrollment Q&As. Janelle and Rob were there with a page I'd seen only in employee handbooks. Notice of termination. Policy violations, code of conduct, reporting integrity. The bullet points were clean. 1. Submitted false or misleading information during an investigation. 2. Altered internal communications to support claim. 3. Misrepresented interactions after written reminder regarding honesty in investigations. They offered no severance for cause and marked me ineligible for rehire. They reminded me of my right to submit a statement for my personnel file. They gave me 15 minutes to collect my things, then escorted me. No parade, just process. I wanted to scream that it was unfair to be fired for one mistake. Except it wasn't one mistake. It was a string of decisions braided into a noose. I wanted to say he led me on. He didn't. I wanted to say this will ruin me. It won't unless I let it. Word reached me, as it always does, that Tom had been offered an apology. Not from me, from the company. He'd also gotten a quiet memo for his file stating, investigation completed, allegations unsubstantiated. That matters because you don't want smoke left in your folder, not when future promotions ask for clean records. I applied for unemployment and got denied for misconduct. Not every state would do that. Mine did. I read the letter twice with the same sinking feeling I'd had when Rob turned the printed stills. Your feelings are not facts. It's an unkind sentence until it saves you. Marina took me to Fo and didn't say, I told you so, even though she could have. My mother asked if I'd prayed. I told her I'd started being honest, and she said that was better. That weekend I wrote an email to Janelle that I didn't send, because there's a difference between apologies and attempts to reopen closed doors. Then I wrote Tom one for me, not to send. I wrote that I was wrong, that I confused embarrassment with harm, that I weaponized a system designed to protect vulnerable people, and made it do emotional labor for my pride. I wrote that he handled it perfectly. No public theater, just a timeline, a data trail, and trust in policy. And that's why he's going to have a good career and a better life whether or not I exist in it. I got a job 3 weeks later at a smaller company where the carpet is a different shade of gray. During onboarding, the HR manager went over their respectful workplace policy and the reporting integrity clause. She said, "We take all reports seriously. We also take truth seriously." I nodded like someone who has learned a thing with her whole face. I keep a sticky at my desk now. Facts or silence. If I feel a story ballooning in my chest that makes me the victim when I'm actually just rejected, I step away from the keyboard and go for a walk around the block to say out loud, he doesn't owe you a romance. You owe people the truth. Tom wins if you're keeping score, because he did the most boring thing extremely well. He didn't subtweet, didn't gather a posse, didn't corner me in a hallway for a dramatic showdown. He documented, complied with the process, maintained no contact, handed HR the boring evidence they needed, and went back to work with a clean folder. He kept his reputation and his peace. I learned that truth is the floor under your feet at work. You pull it up, you fall. Now when someone says, HR is out to get people, I tell them the truth. HR is out to protect the company by making sure policy beats chaos. If you're honest, that's good for you. If you're not, it will be the worst day of your job. It should be. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. She filed a false harassment claim after a bruised ego. HR did the boring, thorough work. Pulled Slack exports, camera footage, and logs. Cleared him, and fired her for dishonesty. Lesson. Processes exist to protect everyone, and the most boring move. Document and trust the system. Often wins. If you liked this video, please subscribe for more. Thanks and see y'all tomorrow.